Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense. No, none taken.
That is right, none taken. I am the Movie Moron, and this is the Movie Moron podcast. And this is our third episode covering the Tallgrass Film Festival.
Tallgrass Film Festival!
In this episode, we're going to be talking about all of the feature films. You should have already listened to us talk about all the shorts. That was a nice 3 hours and 10 minutes of us talking about all the shorts that we saw and highlighting all the filmmakers. But that was like, let me see if I have a number here. 190 shorts that were shown at Tallgrass Film Festival, and we at least named the directors and producers of it, and then and if we did get the chance to see it, we gave a couple thoughts on it. So we're going to be doing the same thing here for all the narratives, and then
well, not just the narratives.
Sorry,
but
the
also
features.
the documentaries.
I don't know why every time
and the other things.
I just say narrative whenever I'm thinking of a full-length film, and that's not true. So yeah, we're going to talk about all the features that were shown at Tallgrass Film Festival. Maybe we didn't get to see them all, but we'll at least name them and then be able to say the directors, producers, and then yeah, if we did watch it, we'll give a couple thoughts. So yeah, if you haven't listened to our other two episodes, go check those out. And then we're going to have one more come out over the next couple weeks, which is interviews with some of the filmmakers. And then lastly, Trevor made a video about just showcasing the whole experience there at, his video of Tallgrass Film Festival that you guys can see, and then a few interviews from the people, some filmmakers, some people that volunteered, some people that ran it, and then yeah, just kind of talking to a bunch of different people. So you can check that out at our the Movie More on YouTube page, and you can subscribe there. All of our episodes are on there as well. So
do it. If
you want to look at us talk as well as listen to us talk, you can watch us there. But then you can also see his video and kind of see what it is like feet on the ground. If you didn't get to go, you can kind of see what it feels like, what it looks like. And all the different people you'll meet. So, I guess we can get right into it. So, yeah, I will, of course, introduce my practical co-host, Trevor, who's already said a couple words.
What's up?
And then our all-time guest, Tristan.
Hello.
But, yeah, now we will break into all of the movies.
Breaking it in.
So, this one's going to be a little bit different than our shorts because I have a different page showing me the movies and stuff, so it's kind of all over the place. It's categorized by what group they were submitted in, so it'll kind of be all over the place. Well, it won't be any kind of structure of when they played or anything. So just a warning to any of you listening or waiting for us to talk about your movie. We're not starting with Thursday movies first or anything. So first one on here is the documentary features, That Thing That Sound, which was directed by Kelsey Hammer, Park, and Nathan Emerson. Producer was Nathan Emerson. And I believe Trevor.
I did see that one, Easton.
Yeah. So
yes.
you can kind of give a couple of your thoughts. There's 50 plus films in this feature category. So we're not going to spend 30 minutes on each movie. Obviously, I don't think you want to listen to us talk for 12 hours. Or I don't think we want to record for 12 hours. So we'll just do the similar thing. You can spend a little bit more time because we're not doing 190. But yeah, just a couple thoughts on it and then go from there.
Rock and roll, man. That Thing That Sound is about the steel guitar, and it's how it has been integrated into music, starting in country music, and then how it's elaborated from that. It is also, they didn't get a chance. He talked about it in the Q&A, but they didn't show it in the film. How the steel guitar, which it has a different name in Hawaii, but like that kind of sound in Hawaii that you hear, that's the same instrument. No, it's a really neat community of steel guitar players, and they all very much support each other. And yeah, it was kind of funny. They all kept talking about how people say that it's a quote unquote dead instrument, or it's a dying instrument. The whole shtick of the movie in general was the steel guitar is an instrument primarily played by white men over 60. and then proceeded to show us a bunch of people under 60 that play it professionally.
Yeah.
But they all kind of had the same idea, but I was kind of like, well, it doesn't feel like it's dying. But, I mean, if you're only showing steel guitar players, then I guess that shows that. But, no, I enjoyed it, and I talked to Nathan a couple times, and he's a really approachable guy, and he was a music journalist. He is or was studying to be a music journalist when he made this, and no, I had a good time with it. Lots of good music. You should definitely. I think I made a tweet on the Movie More on Twitter about it. The Sacred String Guitarist, I think, or the Sacred Steel Guitarist. You'll have to check the Twitter to find out. It's a gospel group that features a steel guitar, and yeah, it showed them playing quite a bit, and I really thought that was cool.
Sweet. So the next one on it, I don't think anybody watched. And I could be wrong though. Was The Art of Rebellion, and that was directed by Libby Spears, produced by Abigail Dinsey, Libby Spears, Sam Hook, Katie Wood, and Suzanne Loftra. And I do believe we had somebody for this next movie, and like I said, we're gonna name every movie, even though we didn't get to see your movie, Libby Spear. We just wanted to recognize that you made it into the film festival. A lot of people got to see it, and I'm sure they enjoyed it. There were just a lot of movies, and so we couldn't catch all of them. So, but we still want to recognize you making it to Tallgrass Film Festival. And yeah, so next movie on here was the Mojo Manifesto, The Life of Times of Mojo Nixon, which I believe Trevor saw.
I did.
That was directed by Matthew Easkey. And then produced by Eva Radke and Sal Owen.
Cool. Mojo Nixon was a rock and roller. I don't remember what exactly they called it. Redneck rock or something like that, I think. It was. I don't remember. It was a fun and I thought a pretty interesting way to show that story. The whole movie is split up into chapters.
Okay.
And I think it's like 1 through 8. But it starts with 5, and then it goes 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, or whatever like this. But that was kind of I like that concept. I remember thinking that was neat. He was involved in a few bands, kind of a drifter a little bit. Talked about how he biked across the country with a couple of his bandmates. He kind of his band was actually there. Him and his band was actually in the theater with us, which was kind of cool. I'm a little surprised just based on how wild he is and was that he wasn't a little more rambunctious during the showing. But maybe he had some of his band members to calm him down or something. I don't know. But no, it was so if you like rock and roll, definitely check out Mojo Nixon.
Yeah, and for those of you who didn't get to attend, a cool thing that they got to do for 2 different movies, I believe, but this one specifically, the band played at Brickyard pretty much at the same, like right after, and kind of overlapping their documentary. But nonetheless, they were there and performed. So you could have listened and seen that documentary and then gone and listened to them play, which we stepped in a little bit. We were watching a different movie, Tristan and I, and we stepped in for a minute and heard the very heavy rock and roll.
It's rambunctious, yeah.
And it was packed, and so we were like. We dipped out because it was just too packed, too loud, and we were just trying to chill and listen to music. And I should have known. I've gone to Brickyard many times. It's not a chill spot. But they even had like some cool Indian appetizers that were apparently gone very fast, provided by somebody. I don't know if it was filmmaker oriented or what, but it was like highlighted like, hey, we're going to have this.
Oh, cool.
Like interesting cuisine. Anyways, maybe that's why it was packed. I heard a lot of people saying that they were upset that they didn't get any. So,
oh man,
because it was gone quick. Yeah. But nonetheless, that was a cool thing that Tallgrass got to put together. So, the next one, which we all wanted to watch and all could not watch and were very upset by, the Pez Outlaw.
I even tried to find it on the virtual pass and it wasn't there.
It is not.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one movie that was in person only. So. We dropped the ball on that one. We'll try to find out how to watch it eventually, because we had a lot of people say that it was really good. This is directed by Amy Bandon Storkel and Brian Storkel, and also produced by those two. I don't know much about the movie other than it was something to do with Pez dispensers, and everybody said it's a really fun documentary. So I think we all just had stuff going on that we had to hit beforehand. So
I just looked it up online. If you have this, you'll be able to watch it. You can watch it on what's called Real Chill on your Roku device. So if you have a Roku device, you should be able to watch The Pez Outlaw.
Sweet. Yeah, awesome. The next block we have is female filmmakers. The first one being A Place in the Fields. Anybody watch that one? Okay, not a problem. Director was Nicole Misha. Produced by her, Don Pieta, and Haley Alm. Man, I had some easy names to start, and now they're already picking up and getting a little bit harder. But nonetheless, she had a film, a feature called A Place in the Field. The next one we did have somebody watch, Deconstructing Karen, directed by Patty Ivins Specht, produced by Catherine Montgomery, Michael Ivey, and then Jessica Lippman. And then, Trevor did see this one.
Do I have to talk about? No, I'm kidding. Based off, Easton and I kind of I think he looked up some stuff about it, or he talked to some people.
I talked to somebody that went and watched it.
Yeah, this seems to be pretty split on. So the movie is about there's this organization called Race to Dinner, which is basically these two women, both people of color, who confront a group of white women on if they're racist. And the whole idea is to kind of guilt them into admitting, and their whole reasoning behind it is like oftentimes you need to be aggressive in order to break habits. So like this had some good stuff in it. However, the film itself seems to be pretty divisive with the audience and who watches it.
Which, I mean, just from a synopsis, it would be understandable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 Because it seemed like an interview between three people and one or two other people.
It's a whole dinner. It's three. Yeah. It's two people and then kind of a helper, and then it's about 7 women that they're addressing altogether. But no, I think the organization has good intentions. Like I said, I don't know if this film necessarily puts it in the best light. I don't know. It's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, the person I talked to also thought that it had some aggressive.
There's definitely aggression in it. Yeah.
Yeah, which was off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that was a piece that they were going for.
Yeah.
So, and some people will like it, and other people were not, and want things to be a little bit softer and conversational rather than aggressive and confrontational.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And that's I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole for hours on how to approach the race topic.
Yes.
But
yeah.
But they're out there trying. So
yeah. The next one, which I don't believe we had anybody see, was called God Save the Queens. That was directed by Jordan Danger, produced by Cecile Cubio, and then executive producer Lainey Goudry. And then the next movie we had, which I actually got to see, was Klondike, directed by, this is not happening. This is a Ukrainian movie, and these are Ukrainian directors, and I am not going to be able to say these Ukrainian names at all. I will attempt to, but if you want to see them correctly, just Google Klondike film, and you'll get it. But it's Marina Gorbach was the director. That one's fairly easy. Then Maria Gorbach, Mehmet Badir is a producer, and then Svatoslav Bokskiv.
that sounds close.
Boom. Okay, so I did see this film, and this film is actually we found out later is possibly coming up for some Oscar talk. So that was cool to get to see something that's kind of in that realm. And it's because this film is about the Ukrainian skirmish in 2014. And it's obviously a relative situation, or that's happening now. So it's just kind of was released in the right time period, and it's by a female director. It's made in Ukraine by Ukrainians, so it's a foreign film all the way through. And so I think that's what the category it's kind of going up for and trying to make a Oscar push for, because it has the narrative. It's got the what's the word that everyone says that you have to have to get an Oscar?
A certain je ne sais quoi.
No. No, you just have to have a narrative around it. I can't think of the right word. There's a word that Oscar movies have to have people talking about it and a
has to be a buzz.
Yeah. There's a different word for it that I can't find right now, but it's okay. But yeah, it's just the movie itself is extremely good. It's got absolutely beautiful scenery. Our main actress in the movie is really, really good. I think our main actor was a little bit less good, but I don't know if it was necessarily him or the character he was trying to play, because he's a very hard, misunderstood character, I guess. Anyways, the whole movie focuses around this couple that lives just on the Ukrainian border of Russia during a skirmish in 2014. And in the middle, a plane was shot down very close to that area, and Russians are sort of invading into Ukraine, and the Ukrainian people have to decide whether they are fighting for Ukraine or fighting for Russia, and it just depends on who comes to your house if they decide to kill you or let you survive, because you're either fighting for the Russians or Ukrainians. So it's a hard place to be in, because if you want to say that you're fighting for the Russians and then the Ukrainian people come up to you, they'll just kill you because you're a traitor. And then if you are a Ukrainian fighter and the Russians who are invading your country show up to your house, they just kill you because you're an enemy. And even though they're literally just farmers. And so, it's just a very difficult situation that is shown very well. It's very depressing, very harsh. But yeah, scenery and shots were fantastic. Really good lead actress. It's extremely brutal. But yeah, I think it's got a shot. I mean, like I said, it fits the current climate with the Ukrainian war right now. And it accurately depicts how scary it is to be a civilian in that world. Really good film by her, and heard a lot of people talk about how much they loved it too. The next one is Refugee, which I don't think we had anyone see, but that one's directed by Aaron Bernhardt and Den Blankenship, and then producer is same people. The next section we have here is the Gala films. First one being All Man, the International Mail Story, directed by Brian Darling and Jesse Finley Reed. I don't think we had anybody see that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Wait, say it again. What was that?
All Man, the International Mail Story.
Sorry.
Okay. Tristan and I did see this one, however. For Samosas, directed by Ravi Kapoor, and then produced by Ravi Kapoor, Venk Putla, Rajiv McCurry, and then Craig Stovall. So I'll let you start with your thoughts on this one. For Samosas, this was one of the Gala films.
Yeah, it was great. I really liked it a lot. It gave me some hardcore Napoleon Dynamite vibes, which I'm all here for. I liked the effects that the camera had, like the colors of the whole thing.
Yes, it's shot in the very high film ratio. What is it, like 9 something? The 9mm or something? Yeah. Anyways, it's shot with a specific camera, and it's got the a ratio, so it's a square.
Oh, 35.
Yes.
35 millimeter.
And then they also put a very like orangish tint on the entire screen because it's based in California. So I think it was supposed to show that like just how hot it is and stuff, just the dry heat. But yeah, they had a filter over the whole film.
It was fun. It was funny. It was a good story of like friendship and coming together, and I'm a sucker for that. So
yeah, the film is basically about 4 absolute idiots trying to either try to fall in love through an absolutely stupid way. And so it's a comedy through and throughout, or I mean, you could also call it a rom-com if you like. Much more of a rom-com than what we watched last night.
yeah.
But nonetheless, this was really funny. I'm glad that I think that there was a Q&A afterwards, and the producer / main actor or lead actor said that his character was stupid. Like that was kind of the point, how they were like writing the character. I'm glad I didn't just think like oh yeah, this movie is just 4 idiots. But they said that, so I was like, okay, cool. Like that was the purpose. I didn't know if like they were trying to write them to be absolute idiots, or if like they were just supposed to be kids. But anyways,
were samosas a part of the movie?
Very, very small part. Yes.
Yeah.
He said there was supposed to be a deeper meaning to it. So there's 4 main characters.
Yeah.
And then I think it was supposed to how they're like light and delicious or something, or because samosas is a food.
Yeah.
It's an Indian food.
It's a fried or baked pastry with a spicy potato filling.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be like describing the characters.
Yeah.
Our 4 characters.
They're a little spicy,
They had
little chunky potatoes.
Yeah. There was a time that they came up that they went back to later. And
Yeah.
I thought it was clever.
Yes. Yeah.
I liked the title of it.
Yeah.
for
No,
the
I
movie.
had no issue with the title at all. I don't think you have to have a title that is said during the movie or
No, right,
anything.
right.
So no, I had no issue with the title at all. I didn't understand it until the director said it.
Yeah.
But I also didn't care. Like I saw that there were 4 main characters, and like, oh, that makes sense. It's 4 guys.
Yeah. Well, I didn't catch that the samosas in the film until he
Yes.
said it later, and I was like, oh, that makes total sense.
So if you're
I
smarter
wasn't-
than us,
Yeah.
or paid attention more, you would know. Yeah, this comes out in theaters in December.
December 2nd.
Yeah,
Woo.
I do highly recommend watching it for just a
too.
fun, just a fun comedy date night. Like you'll definitely get some laughs. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
Tristan said you've got some Napoleon Dynamite feels to it. I 100% agree. There's a scene towards the end where you get a Napoleon dance, similar-ish, I guess. But overall, you just have teenagers that are just kind of acting like idiots, like you do in Napoleon Dynamite. It's got that same feel
Or just
to
in
it.
real life.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, just awkward teens. But yeah, it's also really cool to see because it's a different culture as well. You're following the Indian community in California. There's a town in California that's basically all Indian people.
Little India.
Yeah, that's not the actual town name. That's the nickname of it. But yeah, so it's there. So you get to see.
So they have Indian style
Yeah.
restaurants and
Yeah.
shops and
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And arranged
Very cool.
marriages and stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I thought that was in the movie, but it wasn't. It was something else.
I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
No.
Oh.
Well, I'm sure it is in places, but
Yeah.
I thought it was in the movie, but it wasn't. Tristan wants me to go to the next one.
Yep.
Rude.
We're just taking too long. It's a wonderful movie, everyone. Go see it on December 2nd in theaters.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We don't have to talk about this much.
Hey,
It was
we saw
directed
that,
by
though.
John Hugh. But I mean, this is a movie that's been around forever.
Yeah.
They show 2 of these throughout the festival. But yeah, this is Trevor and I's first time watching the movie.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, and yeah, funny, goofy movie. Martin's great. The other guy's great.
John Candy.
Yep.
Yep.
Both great. Funny movie.
Yep.
Took me a while to get into it because John Candy was so annoying. But he eventually grows on here just like he does in the movie. So
Yeah.
Any extra thoughts?
Nope.
Okay. Still Working 9 to 5, directed by Camille Hardman and Gary Lane, and then produced by the two. We all watched
saw
this together.
Yeah.
I think I missed the first like 20, 30 minutes, but
Or more.
or more. Well, they usually have like shorts beforehand, so.
Nope, not this one.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I showed up like 45 minutes late, and last time I showed up 25 minutes late, and there were still 15 minutes or 20 minutes
Yeah,
of
I
shorts and
know.
documentaries. So I was like, I don't know how much I actually missed because.
Yeah.
But okay, nonetheless, I got the last half of it, and then they watched the whole thing. So, a few thoughts.
I'm not a simp for Dolly Parton. So I know a lot of people are, and like she can slap her name on anything and people will love it. Okay, that doesn't pertain to the movie.
Well, it's very heavily Dolly Parton. I mean, this is about the movie.
Yeah.
9 to 5, and it's a
Yeah.
documentary about how the movement is still going.
Mm-hmm.
And Dolly Parton's a producer or such on this movie, has interviewed a bunch, and is a focal point of the movie. So it does affect the movie.
Well, I was just gonna say that it never showed her like at the rallies and stuff, and she was like, I don't associate, like I'm not gonna go out and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Is like you're gonna just put your name up on this and do like behind the scenes stuff, but you're not gonna actually like stand up with everyone else.
Sure.
Well, I think I don't remember the names of all the ladies that are in
The other
that.
two did.
Well, one of them was asked point blank if she did that. And she was like, well, I'm involved with other organizations that tackle those subjects. But, like, she also felt kind of dodgy to me. I can't remember which one it was.
Because it showed both of them, like, either marching with people or, like, speaking out for that. Like, it looked like public, like.
Oh, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda was the one that I thought was kind of dodgy.
I didn't really get that from her, but anyway.
Also, none of us have seen 9 to 5, right?
No, we've seen the play.
Yeah.
Or
Oh.
the
The
musical.
musical. I
Okay.
played it.
So you've at least gotten, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie, though.
I didn't even know it was a thing, so. 1980, I was 16 years unremoved from Earth, so.
I also don't
I
love
was
this song.
negative
so
16
I'm
years
not-
old.
Yeah. What? Tristan?
I don't love this song.
Oh, yeah. You don't like Don Parton? Don Parton. Dolly Parton, so of course you don't like it.
Don Parton,
Yeah.
the male, the gender swap version of Dolly Parton, Don Parton.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, enough about Dolly Parton. She's a musical genius, but no, I don't
You just don't like her fakeness.
I don't like
Both physically and maybe even politically.
Yes, thank you. But in terms of this movie, Still Working 9 to 5, I don't have a lot of opinions.
Okay. Trevor.
I really like this. I didn't realize how much of an impact that in media that 9 to 5 had. It was a movie and a musical and a TV show, and then a what do you call it? When they do a musical again, revise or something. I don't remember, but I didn't realize it was that much of an impact in media, and I didn't know. So they got the title 9 to 5 from a women's organization that was pushing to add an amendment for equal pay. The ERA, something like that.
ERA, I
ERA.
think.
Yeah.
Equal Rights Amendment.
Yeah. So, no, I found this to be
No, EPA. Equal Pay Amendment.
EPA. Yeah. I found this to be super informative, and I liked it a lot.
I do agree that it was very informative.
I kind of felt like the movie was just a way to be a feminist documentary and not necessarily a documentary about the movie and such. Now, again, I only caught the last half, which is where it took a very quick turn shortly after I got there. Like it was talking about the production, all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it very quickly
It did
turned
do a hard shift.
to the feminist movement from 1975, 1985, and then up to this past couple of years.
Today, basically.
Yeah. Of when Roe v. Wade was overturned. And so it just felt like, now again, like I said, I only watched the last half, but it felt like just a way to, okay, we have this this movie that is very beloved in the female like community, rightfully so, and we used that to get people in just to like just used a classic a cult classic to have our political opinion shown in a documentary and kind of hide it. So, but I mean, I guess the movie was supposed to be a political statement to start, even though it looked like just a comedy to me. But I guess comedies are always have something in the background. So
they did talk quite a bit in the beginning. They showed the marches and stuff in the beginning. So right from the get go, it's pretty.
And I missed that.
Yeah.
I came in a little late too.
Yeah, that's when they were showing 9 to 5, the organization.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and there were quite a few interviews where they talk about how the script was heavily influenced by women. They would bring in like a dozen women all to share stories about
which was very
harassment
cool.
in their workplace.
Yeah.
They did that.
And I think showing all that stuff in the 80s and stuff definitely makes sense because it was a prominent issue.
Yeah.
And there's definitely still been, I think back in the 90s and 2000s, there was still a lot of sexual assault or sexual misconduct issues happening. And it's, I think, gotten better and better as time has progressed. But
I like to think it has. It shows that even today stuff is still happening, though.
yeah. Well, that's what it had a very big segment on the Me Too movement and such. But I feel like the movie showed that like it made it sound like, one, there was no progress ever made. And I don't think that's true. You can say that we need to keep fighting, which I don't disagree with you. But you still need to acknowledge that progress has been made. And I don't think it did that. And it also felt really repetitive at times. Like they kept drawing back to the same, like pretty much the same interview questions to like, and it felt like they were just doing that to get like, hey, this is still a 9 to 5 documentary. But then we're going to pivot back to the marches and the history of the feminist movement, and then here's another 9 to 5 interview, and then so it's just like a way to try to keep it there, but it felt like I was just hearing the same things over and over again. And you guys said this was really informative, so I guess if you didn't know a lot of all this, like if you didn't know this stuff as already, then I guess it may have been a lot better because I knew a lot of the subject matter that was already told. Not all of it. It did tell me some stuff, but Tristan's got some stuff loaded.
Thank you. I will say this. As a female, I do appreciate everything that this movement has done for women in the workplace. I just didn't like the political push that it was giving, in my opinion. There wasn't a lot of
conflict or discussion.
Yeah.
Opposition.
Yes. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of opposition.
It was one side. It was one side of.
It was very one-sided.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. For what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And accomplish for this. But it also didn't touch on how, like, women are, like, lots of women are starting their own businesses and, like, thriving outside of the corporate world. And it didn't, like, talk anything about that, which was kind of a bummer for me. It felt like it was trying to, like, progress in the story, but it didn't touch on, like, owning your own business or getting outside of the corporate world. So I wanted that, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but it was extremely well put together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it looked great. It flowed really well. So there's a lot of good stuff, but I do find that I just don't like political documentaries in general because of what you said. There's no opposition, and that's both left-leaning and right-leaning documentaries. Like the Daily Wire does some, and I'm just like, I mean, when you have full control of the edit, you decide what people see, and if something goes against the narrative that you're trying to push, you're not going to show it.
Right.
So it's not a genuine document. It's not a genuine discussion, and that's why I tend to not like political docs because of that. And there were two that I watched that were a little bit more left leaning, and then there are things that I already knew from my own like research / just being semi in the political world that they just said without like acknowledging the other things that took place, like the nuances of the situation and such, or any kind of opposition. But we don't have to keep talking about this one. But this was a big movie. And
it was the one all three of us saw.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this was one of the three biggest of the weekend. The Embarrassment, which we'll talk about later, was the biggest, I think.
Yeah.
Force Moses was probably the second, and then I think this was the third.
Yeah.
But we'll move on here. We have We Were Famous. You Don't Remember the Embarrassment. Is that the?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sweet. So this was the biggest one, I think.
Yeah, it was packed.
Yeah.
And if you watch the video that I made for the stuff, when I'm in the Orpheum and it's just packed with all the people, that was for the Embarrassment.
Gotcha.
That was me in the drink line thinking like, oh, I'll just salute all the people.
So this is directed by Daniel Featherston and Danny Schlossberbach. And then it's also produced by those two. So you were the only one that saw it, so take it away.
The Embarrassment is about it was a big hit because, and I think this is probably the one that the most people bought single tickets for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so like we had passes, and several other people did. You could get a pass that would allow you to basically get free reign of the week, but you could also get individual tickets, and I think a lot of people did for this. The Embarrassment is about was a local Wichita band that almost made it big. And the entire thing was pretty cool. People were cheering when they would show local Wichita places. They showed an old record store that used to be here and people cheered for, and a couple other like bars and places like that people would, I actually got to watch this with Adam Knapp, our uncle, director of God Save the Wings. So that was kind of cool because he recognized a lot of those places and he's been in that world. He actually knew one of the interviewees on the movie. It seemed like a fellow journalist from Adam's time at the Wichita Eagle. I will say so overall it was pretty good and I did like it a lot. A lot of same footage was kind of used. So it was a little hard to follow sometimes, like where exactly they were at in their progress or in their journey.
Gotcha.
It did kind of end on a weird note. The entire thing is really uplifting and really talks about the band and their music and stuff like that. And then they talk to some music video historian or just historian in general about music. And he makes a statement where he says, had the Embarrassment, because their big thing was they wanted to be from Wichita. They wanted people to know that that's where they were from. So on the back of all their records, it had their P.O. box, and it was a Wichita P.O. box. But the guy says, had the Embarrassment gone and moved to like Chicago or New York or Los Angeles and taken that leap, he was like, they 110% would have made it big. The reason that they failed was because they decided to stay in Wichita. And so that was kind of a weird note that it was this very big hoorah for Wichita. And then to end with, yeah, if you want to make it big, you can't live here kind of thing. Because he talks about, and I believe him after hearing some of their stuff. I actually was writing down in my notebook different songs that played during the documentary. But he says they could have been just as big as some of the other popular bands of the 80s and 90s. And I believe him. They had some good stuff.
Good music.
Yeah. What was funny was the drummer actually, he played his kit backward like Phil Collins' drummer does. And I turned to Jeff. I turned to Adam and said he's playing that kit backward. And then not even a minute later the drummer was interviewed, and he said when he was a kid, his older brother had a drum set and he had it set up the wrong way. And so that's just how he learned to play, was backward. And so I thought that was kind of funny. But
so this band was in like the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
What
kind
decade?
of all of it. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they started playing together in the late 70s and then through the 80s and early 90s.
I do think. I know you said that it kind of feels like if they would have left, it was kind of like a get out.
I didn't say that.
No, the movie.
Said,
You said the movie kind of felt like that's what it was
kind of
telling
ended
you.
on a weird note.
But I think that might be different because that was then, and like this is much more like the internet didn't exist.
Yeah.
So like it's much easier to just be wherever and then make it.
Yeah.
So maybe they should have tried to communicate that better. I don't know, but that's just kind of what I thought. I was like, if you're a band in the '80s, you have to go where people can hear you.
Right.
But you don't have to now. You can just you put yourself on Spotify and it just hits. Put your stuff on TikTok.
Yeah.
You could have a crappy song and hit it on TikTok and you're famous.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
you can be anywhere. So, you got people in Africa that are biggest people on TikTok. So,
Yeah.
Anyways, and then they played right after that, I believe. That was the other band that played. That played just outside of the Orpheum. They shut down
First Street. Yeah.
Or
First
which
Avenue.
we also didn't go to for. I think Tristan was out. I think she was tired. Which is understandable. We like I said, we started at 9-10 o'clock in the morning, and Tristan still worked. Yeah, we already went all of that.
Yeah.
But
well, and it was packed. There were plenty of people. They had a good crowd.
yeah,
So
yeah. I don't know. Could have got some free alcohol, but
no, I think you had to pay for it there.
You had to pay for it there.
Yeah.
Weekend.
okay. I'm glad we missed it. No, I'm just kidding. I would have paid. That's true. We did. I did. Nonetheless, we'll keep moving on. This next one was Gordon Parks. That's the category. So I think it's like Kansas Midwestern movies. I bet you Gordon Parks was a movie maker in Kansas or something. So, but yeah, that's what the category is called. After Sherman, which I believe Tristan, I think Trevor watched that.
I did.
Directed by John Searcy Goff, and then produced by Blair Dorsch Walther, and then Madeline Hunt Etheridge, something like that. Go for it.
I feel
Again.
bad. Now I'm doing all the talking on this episode.
Yeah. You ended the shorts not talking for like an hour, and then maybe it'll happen again. Maybe the last half will just be us. You watched a lot of features, though. I did a lot of the shorts and stuff, and Tristan caught some, and you took a brunt of the features.
Yeah. So this one is about I can't remember if it's South Carolina or if it's Georgia. It might be South Carolina actually. It is a filmmaker interviewing his family basically, and talks about how the black community has always been near water, and that's kind of the theme of this documentary is this idea that like we come from the water, like we came here by boat, so we need to stay close to water kind of thing, which is kind of a cool meta way to look at it. This one kind of had me thinking a lot for the rest of the day, and I actually later on that day ran into one of the jurors that I kind of gotten buddy with. His name's Robert Daniels, who's a critic for LA Times and the New York Times and whatever newspaper in Chicago. Seems like a bigwig. But I liked what he said. I told him I have a hard time critiquing documentaries efficiently because I get so wrapped up in the subject, or like just if the subject's cool, then I assume that it's a good documentary. And he told me the movie has to be equally as interesting as the subject matter is. So if the subject matter is interesting, the movie and like the cinematography portion of it can still be bad or not as good, and that's how they kind of fake their way through it. So this one was kind of a breakout movie for me, I guess, because after hearing that, I was like, okay, because thinking back to the way some of the scenes were shot and that whole theme of like coming from the water was very, it kind of all just tied together for me in that moment, and it was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I did miss the last, like, I imagine it was probably 10 minutes. They played a couple shorts before this, and then they had a Q&A, and the guy that was given the questions was really on a roll and just wanted to keep going. So we didn't actually start the movie until like 40 minutes in, maybe half an hour to 40. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I did end up missing the last 10, 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
But overall, I did enjoy it.
Yeah. Correction, I will correct myself. Gordon Parks is not a Kansas block, because there's a Kansas block that we're doing next, right after this. This is a, I think it is Black filmmakers.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because this is the Gordon Park sponsored by Cargill, and I believe at the award, I was at the awards,
Okay.
and I think that was for Black directors. And looking through here, the ones that I saw were all done by Black filmmakers. So.
You are correct.
Okay, sweet. So correction there. So want to make sure giving you guys at least mostly the correct information.
There's a school here named after him, Gordon Parks Academy.
Amasta Toffee. I talked about this one in the shorts. So Coffee Yoba is the director and producer. Interesting poem. You can hear all my thoughts at the very beginning of the shorts because I talked about it for a little bit. But he said it was supposed to be like a poem, and that's what it felt like. And once I knew it was less of a narrative and more of a poem, it made a lot more sense and enjoyed it a little bit more. So, but we will move on since I already talked about that one. Anasias?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I will also probably say the producer's name wrong. But the director of this is Tati Almeida. And then Sebastio Barga is the producer. Or Braga. And then next we had Black Daddy the movie. I don't think
I saw that.
Okay, cool. Sweet. I was hoping somebody had because I talked to somebody that was a part of this. Damon Jamal Taylor is the director and producer. What were your thoughts on this one?
So in the shorts, I talked. There was, I don't remember which one it was, but I was talking about how it was kind of like anti-religion, you know. And you were like, yeah, because this is, I don't remember what you said.
A film festival?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
This was the opposite. It was basically Black fathers coming together in like community, and this guy, the director, was the main guy in it, and it was about him and his friends, basically their experience as fathers, and they all looked different. So there was one that was like, his wife was in entertainment, and so she was gone a lot, so he was a single dad a lot just because she was gone.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who was in the middle of like custody agreements with his ex-wife and trying to parent his kids through that, and just a bunch of different scenarios. And the main guy was separated from his wife at the time, but like as he was shooting this documentary, his own father died. And so we went with him. He shot himself going to they had like a celebration of life thing for his dad, in, I don't know where, somewhere else. They had to fly there. So he took his kids, and they talked, you know. It was basically about Black fathers' experience, and there was a lot of, the director is a hip hop artist, rapper.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly
one of the two
what genre he's in, but he's in entertainment, and a lot of his own songs were in this movie, kind of like music videos. And then he had some of his like friends on as guests in it, and it showed people that like Black fathers that were kind of like his mentors, and like that he could like walk through this with. It was very informative and very beautiful, and they like prayed together a lot and talked about, you know, how they need to be for their kids, and I enjoyed it a lot. Just dads coming together and supporting each other, and
sweet.
They all understand how difficult it is to be a Black father in their communities, and yeah.
Yeah, this one seemed really interesting.
Yeah,
right?
It was very well done. Someone also asked at the end with the Q&A, the director was there, and he was like, I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it was something like, is this movie only for like Black fathers? There were a lot of Black fathers in the audience, and he was like, I mean, I wrote it for the Black father experience, but anybody, and I'm like the opposite of that, right? I'm not even a mom, and I'm white, and I'm a female. But I got a lot from it, and I really, again, like I said, I'm a sucker for like people coming together and journeying something together.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really beautiful.
Sweet. Next we had Me Little Me, Elizabeth Ayuku, and then also produced by her, so she's director and producer, and then another producer was also Nikki J. Crawford. I don't think anyone.
I was supposed to go see this, and I missed it. And I
Well-
was really sad because I really wanted to see it.
Well, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. My wife failed you and did not watch your movie.
Ethan,
She tried her best. There was probably another movie that ran late that happened quite often.
It ran late.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to catch shorts, and then
yeah. That happened a lot. There were a lot
it
of
was
movies we were
messy.
Yeah, it was very messy. I think Trevor had the least messy.
Yeah, it only happened like a couple days, or like at a couple movies the last day.
Yeah.
I was so stressed out.
Tristan was very stressed. Okay, Our Father the Devil. I watched this one. It's directed by Ellie Fubi. Also produced by her and Joseph Mastantuono. Another foreign film. One of my favorites of the weekend. It is. It's just a good thriller. You don't really know what's going on. It's a little slow, but the second you understand the context of what's happening, I got extremely invested in the story and intrigued on where the movie was going to go. And yeah, it kept me hooked the entire time. It's a thriller about a woman who was a cook that was kidnapped when she was a little girl, and her parents were murdered in front of her, as well as her siblings. It's like in a tribe in Africa, her whole family was murdered. And then these people took her and then trained her to be a warrior and do the same thing to other villages, and she escaped. And then she becomes a cook like much later in her life, blah, blah, and then this father comes to the nursing home that she lives at. Father as in like a priest father. And she thinks that he's one of them that kidnapped her and made her do all those terrible things. And so it's a thriller because she's fighting this. Is this person? Is it not? So you look like you're about to say something. Okay. So yeah, once it finally got to that moment and kind of explained it, I was extremely invested. I think this was probably a budget reason, but they didn't actually show any of the village stuff. And they just showed like you heard sounds and like loose like camera moving in a forest kind of thing with lights or whatever. So like it was just very vague, and then it told you. And I think obviously showing instead of telling makes things more emotional. And I think that would have helped the film. But I was talking to somebody later, which I saw short, and I was really mad that I didn't get to talk to him again. But we saw the movie together. We had talked before, and then we went to go watch our own movies, and then we went to this movie, and we were both there. And we're like, hey, we talked. And we sat together and watched this movie. And yeah, he said it was probably just a budget reason. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But that's the only thing like that I think would have made the movie better, but still really, really good. Sorry, guys. Now we got the Kansas features. I think Tristan watched almost all of these, so good job, Tristan.
Me?
Yep. You're going to be talking a lot. Get ready. It started with a horse.
I did see that.
Joshua Dubious is the director, produced by Maureen Dubious, Joe Aker, Kit Mellum, Mary Sue, and Steve Strickland, and then Mike Castlefort. This is the movie that Tristan did not want to see, and I told her to go watch it, and I forced her, and so...
I thought it was going to be about horrors. I'm like, that's dumb. I don't care about that. Sorry, mother-in-law. Okay. It was really good, actually. It was about this old guy in western Kansas of Mullinville. And he was an artist in this like tiny town, and he would like make these they called them totems, made out of like metal and steel, and no, steel is metal. Steel is metal?
Mm-hmm.
Made out of metal. And if he would like disagree with something that someone in the community said, then he would make an art piece of them with their name on it and hang up this like 10-foot thing with their name on it. And you knew if your name was on there, then he didn't agree with you. So it was, I'm a sucker for old men.
That was weird.
I know.
She is, though. She just loves
I
old.
really like old
She
men.
loves old.
Old
Yeah, men
farts.
specifically. And I think it's probably just your grandpa that.
I think so too. I love my gramps.
Because you also only love old men that act like your grandpa.
That's true.
It
Yeah.
has to, it's a certain style
Yeah.
of old person.
That has to be, yeah.
Nice, quiet, goofy, old people.
Yeah.
You can't
Not
be.
a care.
Not a care in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So this man was like that. And yeah, it was about him and his life. That he he talked for like 10 minutes straight about boobies, which was very weird.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Guy likes tits,
It
man.
was funny. He was like 80 years old, and he just
He's seen a lot of tits.
This guy's in
no,
Mullinville?
he did.
Let's
He
go.
told everyone.
Yeah.
No, he died in 2017.
Oh.
Dang it.
I wish I could have met him. I'm sure he's
Funny guy.
fun guy. Yeah. But he talked about, they had like little animation for these stories that he would tell. Like he was talking about how he met this lady in an airport maybe, and they were like, they had a, I'm probably totally butchering this story, but from what I understood, they were like in this city, and then they were both in the airport. They were gonna fly to different places, and then they ended up flying to Paris together, and they were on like a 15-hour flight or something. And he was talking about how the 15-hour flight was the foreplay, and then they went into the Eiffel Tower and they had sex in the Eiffel Tower, and he calls her once a year ever since that Eiffel Tower day, and they chat for a while, and then that's it.
Hey, at least he doesn't fuck you and leave you. I mean,
Well,
follow
he
up.
did a lot of women. Because he
but
was
not
talking
if you
about
fuck him in the Eiffel Tower. Then
Not the Eiffel
that's
Tower.
that's a special
Yeah.
special lady. So you gotta.
Exactly. You got to keep up on that. But he would talk about how he would just, do anybody. Not anybody. He talked about that he liked pretty ladies, but he would do that. And then he said he probably has a bunch of kids that he doesn't know about. And
I'm surprised you liked this. This
Oh,
does not sound
here's
like
the
anything
thing.
you would
Here's the
like.
thing. I
A
didn't.
dude just talking about all the girls he fucks.
He wasn't only talking about that.
I know,
That
this
was
is
like
what-
a small part of it. But
Yeah.
the thing that I liked about the movie was that that's like a really sad thing. And like that really sucks for those kids who grew up without their dad. And like he didn't want to talk about it. But the thing about the movie was that they made it clear that he knew that he had messed up. And like he wasn't going to hide that he had made horrible decisions when he was younger. Like he would talk about them, and he would say like, I haven't been a great man, but this is what I have, and I'm just going to keep going. Like he didn't make himself out better than he was, and he didn't think that he was better than he was. So I liked that aspect of it,
Yeah.
of like,
The rawness.
yeah, like he's going to be honest, and he's not a great guy, and he's not going to tell you that he's a great guy, but he does what he loves, and he'll talk to anybody, and he's super friendly. So
Yeah. So what was the title mean? What it started
I
with a
have no
horse?
idea.
Okay.
I'm really confused about.
I didn't know how it started with a horse. Did he ride a horse to his first lay?
Maybe
Like-
that was his first like art piece that he put up.
Oh yeah. You haven't even talked about how this guy's a sculptor.
I did. I
said
said
the
that
totem.
he made.
Okay.
Yeah,
My bad.
he did art.
I must have missed it.
which I liked.
Yeah. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Next one we've got here, which I don't think we had anybody watch, Mary Dupez, Zelmer Fenagalo.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sam Huntley was the director and producer of that one. Next one was Once We Lost, the 70-year search for Chaplain Emil.
I was going to see that.
Capone.
Dang it. Capon.
Yeah.
So the diocese I work for, Capon Mount Carmel, the school.
Yeah.
Father Capon's body was recently discovered.
Oh.
He died during World War II. He died during World War II, and they had a huge a funeral mass for him, and like
I'm sure
people from all over. Like when I was working in Hutchinson, I had kids miss because they came to Wichita to go to his funeral. Yeah. Yeah. Dang it.
Okay.
Well, it's gonna be really cool.
There you go. Well, Travis Hang and Roy Winslow directed that one, and Jamie Green and Michael Rohrman produced it. Personal History, directed by Tyler Moore, and then produced by him, David Wayne Young, and Fritz Robinson,
aka Illumination Pictures, who's a Wichita-based company. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they tweeted something out to us.
Yeah.
Because you watch the movie?
Yes, and then
okay.
I interviewed Tyler.
Gotcha.
And he's in the video.
Gotcha.
This was great. This was like really good. And our can we call them semi-friends? I hope that's not offensive.
No.
Patrick Poe is in this.
Yeah.
And so is Lolo.
Sweet.
Patrick plays so it's about this. It's this documentary, or it's a fake documentary, but it's about this woman is applying for a grant, and she's doing it based on architecture around Wichita, and she goes and sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
We're moving around on you.
Yeah, it's all good. She goes and is trying to apply for a grant, and in order to do that, she's having her friend help her do this documentary. And they find out through it that there is a man. They're looking at pictures of this construction company that's been around for 50 years, and there's a man in each of these staff pictures that's not aging. And so they find the person that is in charge of the construction company, and they interview him, and it comes to find out that there is a man who's from Kansas that has stopped aging. And that's who Patrick Poe plays. But what was really cool was typically in these kinds of movies that I've seen where there is some kind of immortal being, whether it's Tuck Everlasting or any kind of vampire movie or whatever, the immortal person is always this really suave guy. They got it figured out. They got money in the bank. They can go from city to city, and they got, whatever. But this is just like a Kansas boy that grew up and just lived his life and then just stayed. And they say that like around the time that his family died, he went off the grid, and the construction company he worked for set him up they built him a house, and he works for them for free. And yeah, it was a really and it's great shots of downtown Wichita all over the place. Lots of shots of the train station, just Old Town in general. Yeah, this was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, sweet.
Yeah.
I will try to check it out.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the movie, so I just docked you to watch it. So, next we've got PvP Lone Gone, which Tristan watched. Director is Devin Bray, and then co-director is Naya Lilly. It was also produced by Devin, and then Shakira Bray, and then Naomi Bray. Yeah, I talked to the film director. Tristan watched it, but I did talk to the film director about this one. He's made a ton of music videos and then shorts, and then he's making a few features here in Wichita, and he's trying to get the Wichita film circuit going. And then we actually ended up chatting with one of the actresses at a bar later in the week, which was interesting.
Yeah.
She was the bartender, and we just happened to say we're at the film festival. And she was like, "Oh, I have a movie playing in that." We're like, "Oh, what is it?" "Oh, Tristan watched it." So yeah, what were your thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, and then Easton put me on the spot.
Yeah, it did.
And I walked in. He's like, "Do you recognize her?" And I'm like, "Oh no, no." And then they're like, "She was in a movie you watched." And then I couldn't remember the title of the movie. Anyway.
Oh, did you know who it was, but just couldn't?
No,
Oh, okay.
no
I was about
idea.
to say I don't think I would have.
But I hadn't seen very movies at that point. Very many movies.
But you said she looked a lot different.
She did look a lot different. But okay, the movie. A big part of it, like the main part probably, was that they were getting loans to pay off loans to pay off other things. So that part of it was giving me like way less stressful Uncut Gems vibes.
Yeah.
Like a million times less stressful. Which was good for me. And what?
But similar, like that
But
vibe.
yes, yeah, of like living in this. I need to get loans to pay loans to.
You don't actually have any money. You're just funneling money from place to place and trying not to get caught.
Yeah, yeah, basically. It was pretty funny at times. I loved seeing the like. There's a shot with like Old Town parking, and I like recognized some places that they had shot in. But a couple. Oh, they did talk about like somebody was like betting on the Chiefs game, so I liked the like local relevance of it.
What are you trying to say? I'm wearing a Chiefs uniform. So
I know.
Carry on.
I said I liked the local relevance. Okay, but I think the shots and stuff were really good. It was a fun, interesting.
Wait a second.
movie.
He was betting on the Chiefs, and this is in Wichita.
Somebody was.
Was it based in Wichita?
Yeah.
That means he was doing it illegally, because there's no way they shot this movie in August and it came out in.
Well, they were doing a lot of illegal things, so
Oh. Okay,
I
fair
wouldn't
enough.
be surprised.
Okay.
Something I did notice that kind of took me out of it was sometimes in the shots, it would like go to a different shot and the hair would move without being moved.
Yeah.
Or like the shirt would be like moved a certain way and then the scene would change in the shirt.
Just little costume bloopers.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And like
It's really hard to catch those continuities when you're filming.
oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That was just something that I noticed in it. But the main guy and his friend, they
I know you've never seen this before, but the guy was telling me he had a very heavily Friday inspiration for this. The movie Friday with Ice Cube. Oh, it's an old
It's all you, man.
It's an old black comedy. He said he basically wrote one of the characters to be one of those characters, and
that's
said he
funny.
was very heavily inspired by it.
Yeah.
But I knew you had never seen it. But maybe it's a movie we'll put on the docket. It's a cult. It's a classic. There's 3 of them. I believe it's Ice Cube. But anyways, carry on. I was trying to give some context to the film because it's a very black cast, right?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah, so I think that was part of the influence of it. So.
Yeah. The relationships, like the romantic relationships in this movie were not faithful. And like sugar daddy, like that. Oh, I know that guy. That's a brother.
That's Ice Cube and Chris Tucker.
Oh, Chris Tucker. I'm thinking of somebody else.
Okay.
I
Anything
haven't
else
seen
you want to say on
I
it?
recognize the meme.
I got confused at the end because a lot of people were related to other people, and it confused me. But I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah.
I really did.
Sweet. We've got. I think you can dip out for a second because you don't have Finlandia
Okay, thank you.
homeowners.
Nope.
Okay. I don't even know what this category is. Murmurations?
Murder.
Oh no.
Oh.
No, it's murmurations. Finlandia. which was directed by Horror. I'm so sorry, dude.
Or lady.
Or lady. Yeah, I guess it could be a lady's name. Since I can't say it, I have no idea. Horiko Alsalia.
I'll see ya.
Yeah. And then Homeowners, directed by Pablo Argras and Marta Capria, and then produced by also Marta Cabria. Did you watch that one?
Yep.
Okay. Midnight Black, Midnight Blue.
No, sir.
Okay. Directed by Samantha Soul and Daniel Talbot, and then also produced by Level Holder, Addie Johnson Tabbitt, Chris Stack, Daniel Tabbitt, and Samantha Soul. And then Quantum Cowboy.
That was you.
Yep. Directed by Jeff Marslet, produced by Bill Way, Jeff Marslet, and Melody Sisk. Yes, I watched this one and did an interview with him that will come out in the next couple days. Absolutely fantastic guy to talk to. And his movie was my favorite of the weekend. This is a completely out there idea that on paper should never work, and somehow he made it work. This movie has 16, I believe, different animation styles, all wrapped into one movie. And I'll give you a little hint if you do watch it, because I very much implore you to watch it, even though it's going to be extremely out there. Apparently, he told us afterwards, every animation design is a different person's perspective. So every time you get into a new art style, you know that you're from a different person's perspective / timeline. So the movie is so Jeff talked a little bit about it. It seems he was into quantum mechanics, and so he used that he wanted to create a narrative movie with this his science background. Mm-hmm. And so the movie is using that theory, and it's a theory that life is kind of circular and ever-changing until it is finite, which is a very weird... That probably doesn't make any sense to you, but they explain it very well. There's a main character that's kind of... I don't know if you've ever seen Mystery Science 3000. No. Okay. Well, if any of you out there have. It kind of feels like that, where there's a guy on the outside watching, and he's kind of explaining what his process is, and it makes sense when you watch it. But all of the characters were all very unique and interesting. You were able to have characters from all over the place because of the style of film. And yeah, just had a lot of fun. I was extremely confused for a very long time. But once I think it finally clicked, it was great. And it was such just a wonder to see. Because like I said, you're having all these different styles of animation, anywhere from rotoscoping to drawn animation to 3D animation to claymation. I mean, you're seeing all these different styles of artwork that's just throwing you around this world. So, I think it was probably my favorite of the weekend. I think there were a few that were kind of fighting for the spot. But getting to talk to the director and kind of hear his thoughts on it. Well, not thoughts, but inspirations, and explain a piece of it really helped understand the movie and appreciate it. Said it took a really long time to do, because he said he spent every night over the last 3 to 4 years editing this movie.
Wow.
On top of his normal job.
Yeah.
So super dedicated to making this one, and it's supposed to be a 3-part trilogy. However, he said he understands that he just made a independent movie, and you have to make money to make more, and so he doesn't know if he's going to be able to do his full vision, but he's very excited and happy that he at least got to finish the first piece. And I definitely think you guys should all check this out. Like I said, it's going to be weird to start, and you're not going to quite understand what's happening, but you will eventually. And yeah, it's fun, and the Western setting is absolutely perfect.
Nice.
Setting for the movie. Next one we've got is Shall I Compare You to a Summer's Day, directed by Mohammed Shaki and Mohammed Shaki Hassan, and then also produced by him, and then also produced by Maximilian Halsberger. I don't think anybody saw that one. Wes
Schlegenhauf is dying.
Thank goodness you watched it and knew how to say his name. But yes, that movie is up next, directed by Parker Seisman, produced by Devin Doss, Parker Seisman, Trent Adderson, Adam Mafia.
This
Talk
was
about
fantastic.
Great.
It was really good. I
remember you texting us about this right after you watched it.
Yes. This might be my highlight of the weekend, was this one. It was, if you're looking, so movies that we've seen since 2020, some of them have kind of...
Oh, this is a narrative.
Yeah, some of them have kind of touched on COVID and, like, you know, hinted at it, like, oh, we have to mask up and stuff. But this is like, no, this is a COVID movie. This is taking place during 2020.
Tristan's like, ugh.
But, so it's these three friends trying to make it in LA, and it's 2017, and and they're all jerks to each other. Like, they're not good friends.
Oh.
It's a very toxic thing. But, you know, they're all trying to make it in LA and try and make it work. So two of them are directors and one of them is an actor. And the two guys that are directors are kind of a team. And so they're directing their actor friend on this commercial, and they're overbearing and trying to get him to do stupid stuff, and he ends up quitting. So he moves back to Idaho, and yeah, right. And they don't talk for 3 years. Well, they finally call him one day, or maybe he gets, I don't remember how they find out, but they get in contact and find out that Wes is dying, or he's sick, at least. They say that he's sick, and they're like, well, we're going to come visit you, and we're going to document our way to get you, and we're going to like buy this old van and get these old maps, and we're going to do it like they used to do back in whatever. And so what was supposed to be like a day trip takes them 3 days to get out there because they don't know how to read a map and things like that. And there's a really funny montage because all the restaurants are closed. There's this really funny montage of them going to through fast food drive-thrus and like just jamming in the parking lot with all this different fast food. It's really funny. But no, this was great, and I definitely recommend checking it out. If you watch the video, there's you can see a little bit of the Q&A with one of the actors/directors, David Doss, and I like what he says. He says it was filmed during COVID, and it's about the COVID time. And he says it very much felt like it was a time where like we should be making things because we're artists, but we also feel like we shouldn't be making things because it's a pandemic. And I feel like everybody that is in a creative space felt that way. Like, I remember feeling that way with things. Like, I feel like I should be producing things and should be doing things or whatever. But then on the other hand, like, I should be like trying to not do that and not collaborate and blah, blah, blah. And so it was a very surreal thing to hear him talk about. But no, this one was great.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought that was a documentary just from the name.
It's
so
yeah.
So, yeah, those were all narrative features. So that was the narrative feature block. You didn't see Midnight Black, Midnight Blue, did you, Tristan?
Mm-mm.
Okay, just making sure. Spotlight Films. This will be a good chunk of films here. Shakespeare hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. You did or did not watch this one?
Let's talk about this.
Did you watch Poltergeist? Poultrygeist
Can
or
we
this one?
Can we do these ones together?
Yeah,
Is that
go
okay?
for yeah.
So
So-
directed by Lloyd Kaufman.
Directed by Lloyd Kaufman. Hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm is also produced by Lloyd Kaufman, Pat Kaufman, Justin Martell, and John Brennan. And then Poultrygeist. Where is Poultrygeist? It is not on here.
Well, they played back to back.
Okay.
Oh, you found it? Okay,
yes.
good.
Also directed by Lloyd Kaufman and then produced by Andrew Deemer and Cale Walker. So yeah, talk about these two.
So I didn't know anything about Lloyd Kaufman.
Other than he was in or did the Toxic Avenger.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about Toxic Avenger. I didn't look up any trailers for this. What's funny is I actually texted the Big M and asked her if she wanted to come with me to see those two movies. And she said, "Can you send me a trailer?" And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, but don't tell me anything because I haven't even watched trailers." And she responded and she was like, "I'm okay. I don't need to see these." What I did not know about Lloyd Kaufman was, but then she was like, "You should tell me what you think of them, though." What I didn't know about Lloyd Kaufman is that he was one of the original creators or writers, I can't remember, for South Park, which is not my kind of humor.
Yeah.
So I got in there. The short before it, which I actually don't know if we talked about when we did the short one, Bon Appetit.
You were supposed to talk about any short that you didn't get a chance to say
Well,
through your notes, but you can talk about it afterwards in a second.
oh, sure. I stayed for that. That was great. And then the Poultrygeist, I got about 45 minutes to an hour in. It just wasn't my type of movie. Now, it was sold out, and I'm glad it was because it was. I mean, everybody else that was in there, they were all having a great time with it. But I couldn't take it. And I was like, I have to go.
Yeah.
So
Not all movies are for everyone.
Right.
I think everyone understands that.
And
And I'm
I-
sure.
Supposed to be.
And I let him know. Because I was also going to see the Shakespeare one after, which was supposed
You
to be
let
a
Lloyd Kaufman know?
No, well, I let the volunteers know because there
gotcha.
were people that still wanted to get in,
Yeah.
but it was sold out, and so I let them know that there was an extra spot
Yeah,
if anybody else wanted to come in. The Shakespeare one apparently is about a Shakespeare play with a literal poop falling from it, like a poop storm. Anyway, so
Yeah.
that was my experience with the Lloyd Kaufman films that evening. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So those are those two. So maybe if you like South Park, you might enjoy
I bet
them.
if you like South Park, you would get a kick out of these.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next one on here is A Butterfly in the Sky, directed by Bradford Thompson, Brett Whitcomb, who also produced both of them. Brian Storkel also produced it. So I did in fact see this one. This is about a documentary about Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow.
And the public TV, because this was a public TV movie.
KPS or PBS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mainly just about Reading Rainbow. And yeah, this was really, really good. I grew up in the later years of Reading Rainbow, but it was still something that I participated in. I remember the original theme song really well, and remember seeing the drawn dragons and all that stuff. And then I guess they they changed it in the early 2000s, which they cover. And I don't remember that one as much. Maybe I just grown too old to watch Reading Rainbow, but yeah, it's very specific for a certain age audience. But they do a great job showing just how passionate everybody was about the project, and that includes the host, who is LeVar Burton. He was the he was the host and talked about his how he got into the project. He was he also played Kunta Kinte in Roots. You guys don't know Roots?
Nope.
Oh, okay. He was trying to be an actor, and he got Roots fairly early on in his career, and Roots was one of the most successful TV shows in the 80s, I believe. And it was a movie about a African who eventually got kidnapped and taken into slavery and then sold in America, and that whole life. And it shows his entire life. And he was the young version of Kunta Kinte when he was in Africa in the beginning of the slavery and all that kind of stuff. And he was, at that point, one of the most famous actors because he played the main character in the biggest show in the world that everybody watched. And what?
Not us.
Oh, well, I mean, it wasn't in your guys' time. I watched this in middle school, actually. We watched this as in history
I thought
class.
it was funny.
Yeah. So he had just gotten off of that, and they were trying to find a host for it, and they wanted to pick a host that was that, I don't know, just had the ease, the feel, the personality, and then I don't know if they were 1,000% keen on, but I think they were very open to the idea of having a black host to make everyone feel welcome, and it hadn't really been done too often at the time. And anyways, it just talks about everything that went into Reading Rainbow, all of the things that they had to overcome because nobody thought a TV show about books would do anything. Nobody would watch it, and it became a sensation very quickly. And it just shows how passionate everybody was, including LeVar Burton, about what they were doing. They had a very clear purpose of why they were doing it. It wasn't to make money. It's public television, so they weren't making a lot of money. It was just about getting kids to read books in a TV world. Because kids were just glued to the screen because TVs were just starting to become more of a household item.
Killed the radio star.
Yeah, and I think they would say it was killing books too. So that was their goal, and it just very, very well done. It took you in and out of the episodes quite often, and so it was so cool to go back and like remember the moments that I had seen on TV when I was 4 years old. Like I don't have direct memories, but I saw an interview with a kid, and I'm like, I remember seeing that. Like I would never think of it until I saw it.
Right.
Or like there was just a bunch of different moments, and also Reading Rainbow did so much more than I thought. And then a lot of the books that they showed on there, I'm like, I'm sure I remember this book, and I'm sure I bought it because of Reading Rainbow. So that was anyways, it's very beautifully done.
So you were the perfect person to watch this.
I was a perfect person
That's
to watch this.
great.
Yeah. Maybe somebody who was born in the late 80s would probably maybe be the ideal viewer, but I still got the back end of Reading Rainbow, and very much enjoyed it. They played the song 1,000 times over, which was great. But yeah, they got everybody that was involved in it to talk about it, and the directors and producers were there to talk about the film a little bit. Asked them a question, they didn't answer it, so that was cool. But I asked them if there was an interview that was really cool that they weren't able to include because it didn't really fit the flow. And they kind of danced around it. They just said that there was a lot of stuff. I'm like, well, I want to know a story. I want to know somebody you talked to that you just couldn't throw in here. But anyways, yeah, really enjoyed this one. Death and Bowling, directed by Lau Cash and Ari Mahler. I don't think any of us watched this. I wanted to. Because it sounded interesting, but wasn't able to. Donnie Darko, Richard Kelly, old movie. None of us watched it because we were watching other stuff. That was kind of in the middle of the festival, but
to be fair though, the reason I played this here was because they showed it on original 35 millimeter.
Oh, sweet. Hidden Letters.
I saw this,
directed by Violet Dufeng.
And it was incredible.
I think this was the one you said Tristan should watch.
I did, yeah. It's a documentary about women in China for several years, and even today a little bit. It seemed like, from the documentary, it seemed like that. They are supposed to submit to their husbands and their sons. Males involved in China's culture are dominant, and they are supposed to have the run of basically everything. So what this is about, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's this language that these women would write with. I think it was called Fushin or something like that. If I had my notebook, I wouldn't be able to look it up.
Yeah, someone decided to forget his notebook.
I know. But it was about they would write these letters, and they would write these letters in poems and songs, and it was this hidden language basically. So if you see like fans or even architecture or clothing that would have these things on it, that's how it was integrated into that society. What was interesting, so it was about two women, Simu and Shui, I think, or Heqing, Heqing, I think is what that second one was, and Simu, both learning this language on their own and how they kind of worked that into society, how this organization was brought up about the preservation of this language and things like that, and kind of the selling out of it a little bit as well. But yeah, it was really, really well done and very touching. What was also kind of sad, they spent the beginning talking about the male to female society in China, and they say, but then this, I think Simu maybe meets this guy, and he's great, and it seems like you get the feeling that it's going to not be that way, but then come to find out he's kind of like telling her that she should get a job and they need to have a baby very soon, and how this language that she's trying to procure and doing all of this volunteer work for doesn't make money, so she shouldn't do it and she needs to drop it basically. And that's the last scene they have together. Well, during the Q&A, the director told us that they had filmed that before, and then Violet went somewhere else to do something, I don't remember. And then she called her, Simu, back to see if she'd be up for shooting more content or shooting more footage. And she told her that her husband had divorced her like very recently. And which wasn't addressed in the documentary, but that was kind of a cool thing to see outside of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, this was very touching. It was very, very cool to learn about.
Awesome. Yeah, you said this one. This is another one you texted us right afterwards and said Tristan would enjoy that one.
Yep.
Why are you trying to send Tristan on this anti-husband movies?
Well,
Come on now.
It's not that part. Well, maybe it's a little that. No, I'm kidding.
No, I know. Next one on here, which I think Tristan watched. Do we need to skip or are you good? Okay. Immediate Family, directed by Denny Tetsko. Producer is Greg Richland, Jack Pyatt, Jonathan Sheldon, and Denny Tetsko.
Yes, I watched this one, and I did not have any idea that it was going to be what it was about. But Immediate Family is a band, and I was really confused at why Spectrum, the record store Spectrum Music, at why they had like sponsored the showing. I was really confused because I'm like, hey, that's a record store. Why are they sponsoring a family video? Anyway, yeah. So it was really good, and I loved it. These guys played together on like a ton of different records in the mostly 70s, like some late 60s, 70s, and then 80s music came and it kind of changed the whole, everything was like electronic and they weren't using live bands anymore to record sessions. And so these guys, any music, basically any like big singers, I can't think of the people, but a ton of people would come in and they would ask for these guys to be on, to be the musicians on their record when they recorded it. So these guys, the same players of these instruments, are on a ton of different albums of really popular artists, and they were like the it guys, and it was like a big deal when they got their names printed on the back of the records, and they got recognized for all of the work that they had done. And it was just about them, playing together. And James Taylor was one that they played on records with a lot. And then they kind of split up throughout the rest of their lives as they got older, and now they're like in their 70s, and they started this band, Immediate Family. The 4 guys, and then they have an extra guy who he said in the documentary that he had been playing with, like, along with those guys with their recordings since he was like really young. And so when he started playing with them in the band, they were like, we haven't played with you for very long, but like you fit right in, like you sound really great with us. And he was like, you haven't been playing with me for very long, but I've been playing with you my whole life, which was really cool.
That was very cool.
I loved it, and I got to talk to Leland Sklar, which was the bass player.
Yeah.
In the movie, and I cried when I talked to him. Just because
he gave you a hug.
He did give me a hug. He was such a sweet man. Leland, if you're listening to this, I love you so much.
Very old man.
I told him, see,
with a great beard.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
He has a podcast. First of all, he has a podcast. He has a website. It's lelandskalarsbeard.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, he has a t-shirt that's like just his beard on the t-shirt. And anyway, he's very, very cool. And I was so touched because I was by far the youngest person in the audience. And I was like, all of these people grew up with this band, like grew up listening to these people live and all of that. But like, kind of like that guy, like I've been listening to this my whole life. And just because I didn't grow up with it doesn't mean that it means less to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cry right now. It's just so great. And I love old men, and I love coming together. It's wonderful.
So funny because you're married to a younger man.
I love you more than the old men.
It is in All of Us, directed by Antanya Cabell Hughes, and produced by Imam Foley and Tamron Rinke.
Sure.
Did anybody see that one?
I did.
Okay, sweet. Talk about it.
So this was one of the late night features. This movie came out in like 2006, I want to say, maybe something like that. Yeah. I could be way off the mark, but I don't think it's super recent.
You're produced. It says 2022.
Really? Well, then I'm an idiot.
Are you sure you're not thinking of a different movie?
I don't know. It is in us all, right?
Huh?
It is in us all.
Yeah.
That's the movie. Okay, yeah. No, this was one of the late night showings. Really interesting. Really kind of some meta concepts. Kind of not confusing, but like it's definitely an interesting watch. Like so I talked with Andre, who was one of the festival staff members. He was the one that picked the late night movies, and we had a couple conversations about this one throughout the week, and just it's a good movie to just watch and then talk about what happened in it, what you individually think happened, and how you should take it, and things like that. And I told him what I thought, and then he told me what he thought, and he shared some thoughts from other friends he's had that watched the movie, and yeah, it was definitely it's worth a watch, 100%. It's an Irish film.
Oh no, do they have really thick accents?
They don't have thick accents.
That's good.
No, actually, the main character in it is British, or he's supposed to be from London in it. No, but it was easy to follow. Like I said, it's just there's some things. It's all literal, but there's things in it that happen that make you think like, is this really what it seems? Like, is this really what this is supposed to be? And yeah. So just definitely recommend.
Sweet. Little Satchmo, another one that you watched.
He's pointing to me.
I am. Sorry, there's video, so I don't have to say it anymore. No, I'm just kidding. John Alexander is the director, produced by J.C. Guest and Leah Umberger. I did, in fact, talk to somebody who had a part of this film in an interview, so
nice.
So yeah, you can see that here next couple days. But yeah, what did you think about Little Satchmo?
This was very interesting. So this is based off a book. It is a documentary, but it was inspired by a book. I don't remember what exactly it was called. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. But so Louis Armstrong, his nickname was Satchmo, and this is about his daughter who was required to, from what I could tell, her name is Sharon Preston Folta. She wasn't allowed to disclose that information that she was his daughter until fairly recently. And when she did, okay, the book is called Little Satchmo, Living in the Shadow of My Father. But this is basically a narration of her with visual aid, basically, from the book. But it was definitely interesting, and I feel bad for teaching my jazz history or in my jazz appreciation course and not mentioning that Louis Armstrong had a daughter. So, but it was it definitely shows the gray. You know, we talk, for you and I personally outside the podcast talk fairly often about how nobody in history is necessarily black or white, and this does a great job of, well, black or white ethically or morally is what I mean. Yeah. Everybody's kind of in that gray zone, and this definitely paints Louis Armstrong in a picture of, well, he was this great guy, and he did a lot for jazz music and African American culture in general, and bringing that over to America. However, how did he treat his daughter and his mistress? You know, and how did they feel about that situation? And so, it definitely it felt authentic and real, and I enjoyed it.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is another one I plan on watching. He when I was talking to him, I asked if the music was any good. Not any good, but I was like, how is the music in the, because you're talking about Louis Armstrong, so you've huge jazz icon. You should, did you integrate that in the movie and stuff? He was like, no. And I was like, and in my mind, I'm like, am I a complete idiot? And I just thought of the wrong Armstrong. Like, is Lance Armstrong the jazz musician and Louis Armstrong is the biker, or man who went to the moon?
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong. I was like, wait, is Neil Armstrong the musician? Did I just make myself look like a complete idiot in front of this guy? But thankfully not. Yeah. To
be fair, your question was spot on because his music is in this. It's just not a focal point.
Yeah. And he said that. He said that we didn't want Louis to be any kind of focal point of the movie. Oh gosh.
Right.
But yeah, next one was Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power.
That was you.
Directed by Greta Ganber and Sam Pollard. Produced by Anna Roos, Jessica Devaney, and Dema Paxton Fofong. This is a political doc about the rise of the Black Power party. Black Panther, yeah. But Black Power is very heavily influenced in that, so that's why I misspoke. And I say that like they do not shy away from the importance and the emphasis on the word Black Power. Now, so two things. One, the same reason why I don't like political docs are the same issues I have with this as a whole. However, I did learn a lot more about this subject matter than the other.
Sure.
There was a lot of stuff here that I didn't know, that I thought showcased it very well on why the Black Panther party was used. I think it was great how it showcased that the Democratic Party was telling the black community that they were for them. And they were the ones that were, the Democratic Party was saying, vote for us, and like what we have you in mind or whatever, like, and getting black votes. Mm-hmm. And that's why they created, like, the black leaders were telling the black community to vote for them because they were being told whatever. And that's why they created the Black Panther Party because
Gotcha.
they were not being represented by the Democratic Party, and they needed representation because they were in counties that were like this one that were 90% black and didn't have a single person in office that was black, and there was so much racism in the upper power because there was they didn't want them to gain power because you keep them oppressed, keep yourself rich, and when you're outnumbered 90-10, I mean, keeping the power is the only way to stay in power. So, yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff there that I didn't know. Everything I knew about the Black Panther Party was mainly the tension between Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers and how they were for violence versus nonviolence, like Martin Luther King. But this did not focus on that part. This is more like pre-Black Panther, more the formation of it and the need for it, rather than I think most of that was kind of later on. I mean, I don't think it goes again. Like, this doesn't counter what they did later on. Like, it says, sometimes you have to be violent or whatever. So it doesn't contradict itself in any way. But like I said, there are still some stuff in here where there is no tension or opposition to what they're saying. And there are times where I'm like, okay, well, I know that like this specifically was used for a reason, and you're just saying this without any context. And so, but yeah, I was, of course, upset at times because of that. But like I said, did get a lot of knowledge on stuff I didn't specifically know. I think the biggest issue I did have is a lot of people they were interviewing were heavily anti-white, and so that was very annoying as a white person to just see. I mean, you can say what you want, but I mean, I don't think you should be racist to any race. And they were very, I don't like white people, and they're the problem. And that was the vibe they were giving off. Yeah, I don't think that's where progress comes. So yeah, there was a lot of interviewing people that were very offsetting. And I do understand some of them, because they were interviewing 85-year-old people that were going through that. So that makes a little bit more sense. But then they were also interviewing people that were 32, and like you did not go through the same thing. I know you study it, and so you read it and stuff, and I'm sure you deal with racism in your own life, but it's not everybody. We've progressed and changed, I think. Whatever. So, but yeah, that's Lowndes County and the road to Black Power. So very much of a early going of it. And yeah, some interesting stuff. Mama Bears, directed by Darsha Kai, and also produced by her and Laura Tatham. Did you watch this one, Tristan?
Mm-mm.
Okay. No Place Like Home: The Struggle Against Hate in Kansas. Director is Kevin Wilmot. Producers Scott Richardson, Sam Zeff, and CJ Genvoy. Did you watch this one? Okay. For some reason, I thought you had. Already talked about Poultrygeist, kind of. The Blind Man Who Did Not Want to See Titanic, directed by Timu Nicki and produced by Jani Poso. Trevor, I know you were slotted to see this one. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I did.
Okay, sweet.
Yes. So this one, Finnish film, totally foreign. Yeah, it's about a man with MS who is paralyzed from the waist down. He, sorry, losing my train of thought again. He has a relationship with another woman who also deals with some health issues, and he decides to go visit her. She's only 3 hours away, and he plays virtual blackjack, and he wins like 6,000 whatever the currency is over there, and he gets into some trouble along the way, and he's blind. And
is this narrative or doc?
It's a narrative.
Okay,
yeah.
Sweet.
What was interesting and made me a little upset was So the entire film is shot from his perspective. So he is always clear and everything around him is fuzzy to like show you how he's blind. But the amount of fuzziness that he is seeing is the same amount of fuzziness that I see with my own eyes.
So it's not a direct representation, just kind of to show the audience that it's not.
I think so,
Yeah.
but it was a moment where I was like, am I more blind than I'm giving myself credit for?
No, I think it still wants you to like see
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah.
So I bet you was just like,
Well, and
trying
it
to
might,
communicate
yeah,
it.
and it by because there are some people I think that I on my own. That's beside the point. Never mind. Anyway, no, this was very good. It was a little. It was a little fanciful, maybe. Like he kind of gets away with everything he wants to do. And I think just reading some of the stuff about it on Letterboxd, it seems like people were like, well, this seems unrealistic. It seems like the only reason that you're having him like come out on top, so to speak, is because like you're glorifying that he has these health issues kind of thing. I don't know that I necessarily got that vibe. And it's also a movie, and it played by its own rules. It was fine. He still struggles. Like he's still, he falls down. He falls out of his wheelchair a couple times and can't get up. And so it just is what it is. But
okay.
Yeah.
Next, we have The Toxic Avenger, another Lloyd Kaufman movie, but also directed by Michael Hertz and then produced by both of them, Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz. None of us checked this one out, but this movie's been around since the 80s. So, What We Leave Behind, directed by Elena Sosa and produced by Emma D. Miller, Elena Souza, co-produced by Isadore Bethel. Anybody watch this one? Okay. We've only got a few more here. We've got the Stubbornly Independent block. And there's just a few more. So stick around. We'll finish these ones up. Attack, Decay, Release, directed by H.P. Mendoza and produced by H.P. Mendoza. And I think you checked this one out after the fact.
I did.
So give us your thoughts. This one won the overall award for the weekend. So yeah, how was the award-winning, the Tallgrass Film Festival, Stubbornly Independent award-winning Attack, Decay, Release?
It was definitely an experience. It was a little experimental. So the screen is actually split into 3 squares, and it's those 3 screens that you watch that sometimes operate dependently and sometimes independently of each other. But the story is several years ago, the director he wrote this album for his husband, and it told a story, kind of avant-garde-ish, like kind of out there music, told a story about humanity leaving Earth and going to settle on the moon. And so this film is basically that story just in film form. So the entire thing will tell you what the song title is. It moves in 3 movements: Attack, Decay, Release. Attack is the initial spread. Talks about the Phoenix virus, which I don't think is supposed to be representative of COVID necessarily. I think it's just what it was. Decay is people like quarantining and things like that. And then actually the Earth is decaying. And then Release is them going to the moon and living there. But no, it was, like I said, definitely a little experimental. From what I understand, he at the showing, he actually got up and had a ukulele and played / sang along to one of the tunes as it changed movements from movement 2 to movement 3. So yeah, but no, definitely it was definitely interesting, definitely worth a watch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next we have Disfluency, directed by Anna Baumgarten, produced by Danny Mooney, Anna Baumgarten, Elaine Hastings Adele, I don't think anyone checked that one out, unfortunately. East Bay, directed by Daniel Yoon and also produced by Daniel Yoon.
I did see this movie, but
Yeah, you've got something you
yes.
got to go to.
Sorry.
She'll be right back, and she will talk about your movie, Daniel Yoon. She's cooking for some stuff for our brother-in-law. So, Paris is in Harlem, directed by Christina Collas.
I think Tristan saw that one also.
Also produced by that. I think she had to miss it, if I'm being honest, but nonetheless. And Josh Mandel. The Civil Dead, directed by Clay Tatum, and also produced by Cassandra Baruch and Mike Marosco. And then The Unknown Country. Did you watch that one? No. Marissa Maltz. So that is the end of them. We'll wait a couple seconds for Tristan to rush in here.
Tristan gets back. Yeah.
Or maybe you can switch out. See if you can go help Trent.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. I don't know what else he needs.
Yeah.
Demi, just push him off. Few second delay. Sorry, guys. No. That was perfect timing because we had our last 4 movies and no one saw anything but you
Oh,
of
man.
these last
Okay.
4. So I
Dang.
couldn't keep going.
Yeah, sorry.
Might edit that out, might not. We'll see. But we have Paris and Halem, Christina Collas, and was the director. She also produced, and so did Josh Mandel. What were your thoughts on Paris and Halem? Is in Harlem.
I saw
really
East
messed
Bay.
up that title. Oh, you saw East Bay.
Yeah,
My
sorry.
bad. Did you see that one though? Paris is in Harlem.
I had thought, yeah.
Okay,
I was going to, but I didn't.
Trevor thought you had, and I said I think you were supposed to, and another one ran late. Okay, but anyways, East Bay, directed by Daniel Yoon and produced by Daniel Yoon. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah. So, first of all, I'd like to apologize because I had to leave a little early of this
I
movie.
think you ran into the director on your way out.
Yes. It started way late, and like I said, I was so stressed out this weekend, and he said it himself that it's a feel bad movie, so I wasn't in very good headspace watching it. But okay, something I really did appreciate was that this director,
It's a feel bad movie.
yeah. So
The synopsis is a micro budget comedy drama about a Korean American.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said that his first feature film was about this guy who I think he had like a disease or illness, cancer maybe, something like that. And it was about like him overcoming that and then like trying to find a new normal and a very like feel good, like happy things at the end, like good ending, all of that. Not good as in well done, but good as in like good things happening to him. And it did really well and people enjoyed it, but he was like, he told us this before it started, and he said to himself, like, this isn't always real life. Like, I want to make a movie about like raw human experience, basically, was what it was. And so he said this movie is kind of a feel bad movie. And he actually went into kind of a depressive state when he was editing this movie because he's the main actor. And he saw himself as this like beat down, like bad headspace person. And it really like messed with him seeing himself like that, editing a whole feature film, watching him be like that. And I can see why.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said it was a feel bad movie. And then he said, if you feel good at the end, you weren't paying attention.
Damn.
Yeah. So I really
Hard
respect that.
Yeah.
I respect doing something and realizing that that's not what I want to represent. And kind of, I'm all for making people see hard things, because if we're ignorant to those things, we don't grow as people, and we don't become empathetic for others. So
well said.
Thank you. I really appreciated it. On the other hand, it was really difficult for me in that time to get through. I do wish I could have finished it. I thought it was very well done. It was very interesting to see everything like pan out. Part of it, he was like recording himself on this like kind of mountainside, kind of like almost being a narrator, but not really. And then it would go back to him, like it would show him in the time that he was talking about. And then there was a time where he took this girl up there, and just things that he said weren't, it's like he wasn't taking advantage of what was right in front of him. And that's hard to see. Like, obviously he didn't, you don't notice it when you're the one in it. But I thought it was very well done. It was funny at times. He was like dating this girl who was super spiritual, and she had a very thick accent, and he didn't totally like agree with the spiritual stuff that she was into. So it was funny seeing like their dynamic, and she was kind of a toxic person. I don't know if it was supposed to be that way. I think it was, because anytime he would say something, she would say like, "You're below me," or like, "You don't think I'm good," or I don't know. It was funny. I wish I was in a better headspace when I'd watched it, though.
Yeah. There are a few times where when you're just running around like crazy and you're getting so many different like genres and different angles and stuff. Yeah, you're sometimes you're not in the right space
and it was
to see.
The last movie of the night, and it was 11:30 was when it was supposed to be done, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. But yeah. I enjoyed my viewing.
Okay. Well, that is everything. So thank you guys so much for listening. Again, if we didn't see your film, I'm very sorry. We tried to get as much as we could, but hope you at least enjoyed us highlighting your film and reading off all the directors and producers that made the film possible. And thank you guys so much for submitting your thing to Tallgrass. Got to talk to a lot of you guys, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, this will be our last talking podcast on Tallgrass Film Festival. So hope you guys like all of our thoughts on all of your movies and the experience and everything. And hope to see all you guys next year and years to come. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. If you like what you listen to, just rate, review, subscribe, all that kind of stuff helps us out. If you want filmmakers to see your thoughts and whatever, you can send it to them or share it, retweet it, whatever. And make sure to check out the interviews with the filmmakers, which will be all on YouTube as individual, just 10, 15-minute long interviews. But I will also put it on the podcast feed if you just want to listen. And that'll just be one really long episode of all of the interviews. So you can decide which way you want to really listen to it, if you want to watch or if you just want to listen. But make sure to check that one out and check out other episodes on Tallgrass if you hadn't checked those out yet. And yeah, that's a wrap on Tallgrass Film Festival.
Woo!
Hey, moron!
You talking to me? 150 hours.
You talking to me?
Well, you're gonna have to.
And there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
Yeah.
What an idiot!
Well, what do you expect? I'm the movie moron.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Don't call me stupid.
Oh, right! To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people! I've known sheep that could outwit you.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Man, you are one pathetic loser. No offense. No, none taken.